How long is inflation going to remain a problem? I was just at the Dallas Fed about a week ago, and this was the big topic of discussion. Inflation has been above the Fed's 2% target for 3 years now, and many people view that as unacceptable and threatens the Fed's reputation for keeping inflation in check. And now, with the war in Iran bringing up energy prices, inflation could become even more of a problem. Now, some economists pointed to the AI boom as a potential source of deflation. This is because if firms are able to produce things more efficiently using AI instead of labor, that could bring down the cost of goods and services for consumers. But there's another thing that could be deflating inflation that people aren't really talking about, and it has everything to do with my area of expertise, which is housing. Home prices are only up 1% since last year, and rents, asking rents, like those rents you see posted on websites like Redfin, have been pretty much flat since 2022. Now, the shelter index remains high. It's at 3%. It's come down quite a lot from its highs of 8% back in 2022, but because asking rents have been flat for so long, I expect shelter inflation to keep coming down. And this isn't just going to be a temporary thing. I think there's real evidence that rents could be a source of deflation for really the next decade, maybe even longer. So why is this happening? Why are rents so stable now when they were such a persistent problem back in the 2010s? Well, it's because we're building more homes now, especially dense homes in the places that people most want to live. And this will bring down inflation while simultaneously making land a more productive part of the economy. The economist Ed Glaeser estimated that inefficient land use is holding back the US economy by 9%. But the good news is that we are finally figuring out how to use our land more efficiently. And we're doing that through zoning reforms. In so many neighborhoods across the country, land is zoned for single-family homes only, which restricts the amount of housing that can get built. When neighborhoods change their zoning laws to allow for multifamily housing, you can fit more homes on the same amount of land. And when more people can live in the places with the best access to jobs and education and other things they may like, that makes them more productive. They're spending less time in their cars, driving to the places that they need to be, and they also get the benefit of being around more people, being around more restaurants, more businesses, and all of that means a more productive economy. So let me look at the data. Multifamily construction has been strong. Even as interest rates have gone up and the economy has been shaky, multifamily construction has improved. Multifamily construction is now 4 times what it was in the 2010s and 2 times what it was in the early 2000s. Compared to single-family construction, multifamily construction looks even stronger because single-family construction is only 2 times what it was in the 2010s and is actually 20% lower than it was in the 2000s. So we're building less of that inefficient type of housing and more of that efficient, dense housing. And this has allowed more renters to live in multifamily buildings. 33% of renters now live in a multifamily building, which is a record high going all the way back to 2011. Now, it's not surprising that the New York City Metro has the highest share of renters living in multifamily housing. New York City is famous for its tall towers, and it makes sense that people would live in multifamily buildings there. But can you guess the city that has the second highest share of renters living in a multifamily building? It's not Boston, it's not Washington, D.C., it's actually Minneapolis. And I attribute this to the fact that Minneapolis was one of the first cities to get serious about efficient land use. They eliminated single-family zoning all the way back in 2018, which made it much easier to build multifamily housing. And Minneapolis was just the beginning. During the pandemic, many states decided to follow suit and eliminate single-family zoning. We saw zoning reform in Florida, Montana, California, Arizona, parts of Texas. It's spread all across the country because local leaders have finally realized the way to make housing more affordable is to allow for more housing to get built. Now, California is the state with the largest economy in the country. So the fact that they have gotten serious about zoning reform should mean that housing should start to become more affordable in that state over time. But it's going to be a slow change because California has this really bad tax policy. It's called Prop 13. And it effectively allows people to stay in their homes longer without having to pay higher property taxes. So even though California has effectively eliminated single-family zoning, the people who own single-family homes aren't going to sell right away. It's going to take time. But many homeowners in California are aging, and as they age and pass away, that housing will get sold and it is very likely to get redeveloped into dense housing. The land is so valuable, developers can make more money by building an apartment building where just one single family home used to stand. And for a city like Los Angeles, this is a very big deal. Los Angeles is this sprawling city where single family homes spread out into the metro area and people have to commute in from long distances. But as more housing gets developed in the core of the city, this means that people will spend less time in their cars. They'll be able to get to their jobs easier, they'll be able to have more time to spend money at local businesses, and it will mean a more productive local economy overall. Not to mention that more people will have options to live in smaller homes that don't cost as much, and more people will be able to live in the city and contribute to the economy overall. So there are reasons to be optimistic about the economy being stronger and inflation being less of a problem into the future. But for the time being, the focus is definitely going to be on the war in Iran and how that's pushing up prices right now. The Fed ideally would like to focus on these long-term forces, like what's happening in housing and what's happening with the AI boom. But these short-term shocks, like what's happening in Iran, matter a lot because they affect expectations. If people see that prices are going up right now, they may rush out and buy up all the gas that they can because they don't want to fill their tank when it gets even more expensive, and that could lead to even higher inflation. People also might start cutting back and spending less money overall, which could drag down the economy and send us into a recession. So although there's good news on these long-run factors like housing, the Fed still very much has to worry about what's happening to prices right now and manage those expectations. I'm Daryl Fairweather, Redfin's chief economist. If you'd like to learn more about what's happening in the economy, please follow for more. Please like this video, and thanks for tuning in.